In this video tutorial, you will learn how the telecontrol of operation modes of functions, setting groups and switching devices is carried out in ED2 devices. Operation modes of functions and setting groups, when controlled locally, can be changed in one of two ways, through binary inputs or using electronic switches. When using binary inputs, remote control is not allowed, because in this case, there will be a discrepancy between the remotely set mode and the state of the binary input. Remote control is only available when using electronic switches. You can find out whether the remote control of operation modes of functions and setting groups is available in the IED using one of the following methods. By checking the presence of electronic switches in the Smart Monitor software in the Actual Values ES Control section, or the presence of the EKRA logical node, which contains the SPCSO data objects for each electronic control switch, in the data model according to the IEC 61850 standard. For more information about electronic switches and their settings, see the video tutorial on configuring ED2 devices telecontrol, functions and setting groups. Remote control of switching devices, operation modes of functions and setting groups is available only when the device is in the remote control mode, and in the local mode control is carried out directly from the IED. You can see what operation mode the IED is in the Smart Monitor software in the information sidebar. Also, the current mode can be viewed in the IED model according to the IEC 61850 standard, for example, through IED Explorer. To do this, in the LLN0 logical node select the lock data object and look at the value of the status value attribute, where the false value corresponds to the remote control mode, true to local. One of the ways to telecontrol electronic switches is through the Smart Monitor software. To do this, go to the ES Control section. The name column contains the name of the electronic switch. The status column displays the actual state of the electronic switch. The active state corresponds to the red color of the indication, the inactive, white. The remaining two columns provide a description for the active and inactive states. To switch the electronic switch, click on the state indicator of the required key. Next, confirm switching in the pop-up window. Also, telecontrol of electronic switches can be performed in the PCS. To do this, you need to change certain attributes in the IED data model according to the IEC 61850 standard using the MMS protocol. As an example, through the IED Explorer program, we will find the necessary attributes in the IED data model and change them. In the EKRA logical node, select the SPCO data object corresponding to the required electronic switch. You can make sure that the desired electronic control switch is selected by its name stored in the data attribute, DEU. For example, let us switch the CBFP function from the disable mode to the enable mode. To do this, let USS change the value of the control value attribute, from the false value to the value true. And make sure that switching is carried out in the status value attribute, where the true value corresponds to the active state of the electronic switch, false to inactive. Telecontrol of switching devices can be performed using several communication protocols. Let us consider the telecontrol of switching devices using the MMS protocol of the IEC 61850 standard as an example. To do this, use the Smart Monitor software to make sure that in the settings, Switching Devices section, the IEC 61850 protocol and one of the control models other than status only is selected. When the status only model is selected, only the display of the switching device position is available, without the possibility of controlling it. It is also necessary to make sure that switching devices are controlled via the communication ports specified in the communication interface field. In more detail, setting the logical nodes of the information model of the IED is considered in the video tutorial on configuring ED2 devices logical nodes of IEC 61850 for switching devices. In the information model of the device for the telecontrol of switching devices, certain logical nodes are used. The type of switching device, circuit breaker, corresponds to XCBR logical node, disconnector and earthing switch correspond to XSWI. The GAPC logical node, used to control equipment of various technological systems, such as ventilation systems and the like. As an example, let us consider switching a circuit breaker with a logical node XCBR1. Telecontrol is carried out by changing the value of the control value attribute. Change it from the false value to the value true, and make sure that switching is carried out in the status value attribute, where 10 corresponds to the closed state, 01 to tripped. The value 00 in this attribute corresponds to the unreliable state of the switching device, and the value 11 to the faulty state of the switching device. Also, telecontrol of switching devices can be carried out according to the protocol of the IEC 60870-5-104 standard. To do this, in the Switching Devices section, the 60870-5-104 software protocol must be selected, and one of the control models, except for Disable, must be selected. If the Disable model is selected, only the display of the position of the switching device will be available without the possibility of controlling it. It is also necessary to make sure that switching devices are controlled via the communication ports specified in the Communication Interface field. You can learn more about setting the control of switching devices using the IEC 60870-5-104 protocol in the video tutorial on configuring ED2 devices data sending and switching device control via IEC 60870-5-104 protocol. In addition to the above, telecontrol of switching devices can be performed using the Modbus and IEC 60870-5-103 protocols. The configuration of these protocols is described in video tutorials on configuring ED2 devices data sending and switching device control via Modbus RTU/TCP protocols and data sending and switching device control via IEC 60870-5-103 protocol. This video tutorial is over. We hope it was useful to you. Thank you for attention.